everybody. This is Tony Sandoval, Big Bear, with BBE Tech and the Bee Smart Beekeeping Project. We are back. This is episode 33. Yes, we're picking right back up where we left off, even though we had a little bit of space there in the middle. Had to get some things right and reset, kind of hit the reset button there, and we're gonna kick right back up. Now, we're going to make a few changes. We're not going to be weekly. We're going to be every 2 weeks. And we're not going to have a full big group of people on every time. We are going to have, sometimes it might just be me, and sometimes it might just be a small group of people. Sometimes, somewhere, somehow, we're going to get everybody involved over time, though. So we'll still be hearing from all the regular Beehooligans. Just in little different ways and more one-on-one and small group kind of things, and take it easy on my poor little computer and in the studio, and trying not to handle too big of a load from too many connections. I'm sure some of you could tell from the last time towards the end there, we was stretching that a little bit. So, we're going to kick right back up into everything. We got a little bit shorter format besides going every 2 weeks. We're going to go back down to about a 30-minute Hopefully, we're going to be a little bit more concise and to the point. We'll find out and see how well that works. We like to share experiences, talk about the beekeeping experience, and get different people's points of view and see what they get excited about and what really sticks with them, and share that with amongst ourselves and share that with you listening. So we're going to try and work it all out here. The topic, we're going to have a topic, of course. We're going to try and stick to a general topic, although I'm sure other things will come up. Today, I am the only Beehooligan here. I am the only one to kick this back off. I could have brought in a few of the other ones, but I thought about it, and forgetting all this, jump back in. There's a few things I wanted to do, and I wanted to just say some things, and some thank yous for some folks, because they've been mighty helpful, and I really appreciate everybody. I'd like to really give a shout out to all of my hardcore core group Beehooligans. Jeff, JP the B-Man, Armstrong, Bruce, Shawi, Sharwath. We got Travis, Yappy, Olbrick, Anthony G, Anthony Gaines. We got Debbie Horn out there, all scattered around the country, literally. And I want to say thank you to all of them, because they've helped make this podcast from the get-go. They gave a lot of their time when they could have been and should have been maybe out doing other things. And I just want to tell you guys, folks, thank you very much for all you've done. And I want to thank you ahead of time, because I know you're all going to come back when you have your time available, especially as we're slowing down for the year. And I appreciate all you do to kick in and have a little fun together. Share some the beekeeping mojo with each other and with everybody. So I wanted to kick a big thank you out there to all you folks, and let everybody know just how much I appreciate how much you guys contribute here, and hopefully we'll look forward to seeing y'all back on here and get to hear more from you as we keep going on. So that's that part of it, and just kind of for the first time getting a new feel and set a new tone, set a new pace for things. We have a weekly topic on the website, and so when this overlaps, because like I said, the podcast is going to go about every 2 weeks, not every week. And so we're going to have the podcast try to follow whatever the topic for that week is going to be. For example, the week of this week that we're doing it, that's the week of October 30th, 2017. The topic is actually Honey Bee Taxonomy. And the whole week we're going to have different posts and everything on the website. Most everything is going to be something to do with Honey Bee Taxonomy. And we're going to go into that a little bit here, amongst other things. So, but I want to say thank you. I want to do a I said, thank you to the topic of the week. Tell you where my head's at right now, isn't it? All right. Anyway, we're gonna focus a little bit on that. I am going to say I'm not introducing this one, but it's just going to warn you that it's here. He's here. There's a bee here. Bubba Bee. Now, you may say, Bubba Bee is not real. And I'm going to say, well, that depends on the degrees of real. For all purposes of real. Maybe real in my head. Maybe I'm just funning y'all. I don't know. You don't know. But I can tell you that here is Bubba Bee. Now, you're not going to get to hear Bubba because I'm not going to put him on. I'm just not. Because he's a troublemaker is what he is. He's a rascal. He's not even a bee hooligan. He's just a doggone troublemaker. This is why I can't leave him alone anywhere. So, yes, I'm talking about you. No, don't even act like that. See, this is why you don't get to talk. I'm sorry, folks, but this is why he's not going to get to talk. But occasionally you may have to hear me bring something up or reply or something, and he's going to be in the background there. And we're going to have hopefully we're going to have fun with him and not have to take corrective action. Because, I can't send him back to the hive because they done kicked him out for the remainder of the season, getting to be fall and winter here. So you got nowhere to go, so you best watch yourself, boy. You understand me? No, you don't turn your head like that. Anyway, so folks, we're going to move on. The topic, I'm going to try and stay on topic here, and we're going to talk about Honey Bee Taxonomy. Honey Bee Taxonomy. Everybody, what is Honey Bee Taxonomy, Big Bear? And I'm going to tell you, Honey Bee Taxonomy is a scientific categorization of living creatures. So it talks about biological, evolutionary, and even geographical background. How we identify, how we label, and how we track where different creatures are, living creatures come from. For example, honeybee, okay? They are, under insects. They are under Hymenoptera. They are in a genus of Apis, but and I'm going to get more into this later, but so we know Apis, everybody knows Apis, and then of course honeybees are under mellifera or mellifera. I always say mellifera because, I don't know, maybe it's just the way I am. It's the way I learned it around here. So we know it as Apis mellifera. And then, of course, the subspecies name, because the species name is mellifera, but the subspecies name, we have all kinds of, we have, what we know is the Italian honeybee, which is ligustica. Okay. So Apis mellifera ligustica. So we go from the genus to the species to the subspecies. We can start to identify and see where they all come from, common ancestry, and how they're all tied in and related, and where in that taxonomy, in that breakdown, we see where they all come from, what order, what family they come from. Taxonomy is really, really interesting. Now, I was going to get to the name of Apis again. That's the genus. And it's Apis, but that's only the short name. Okay. It's actually another name is added on there. It's Linnaeus. Okay. Apis Linnaeus. And it gets kind of confusing. You never hear that. All we ever hear is Apis mellifera. And if you really put it down, it's Apis mellifera, ligustica, Apis mellifera. There's different subspecies, and so you always hear that. And then when you see it in writing, they always shorten the abbreviated. So it'd be a capital A for Apis, period, M for the species, mellifera, and then they write out the whole subspecies name, ligustica, or what, A.M. ligustica, that kind of a thing. And that helps us to identify, to know exactly what it is we're talking about. We're not talking about a bumblebee, called an Italian bumblebee. We're talking about a honeybee. We're talking about, not a wasp. We're not talking about anything else under the genus of Apis, which is bees. We're talking about mellifera. Mellifera is honeybees. So that kind of keeps us kind of on task, keeps us focused, and that's where taxonomy comes in. It really comes in handy in research. So a lot of the research we see coming down the pipes from the folks in the universities and the biologists and the entomologists and all that, this is something big for them because they have to be able to classify these things very, very specifically because they get one or two little things mixed up and that's it. You know, there's almost like having to start all over again sometimes. Sometimes it's just a little thing. Sometimes, so taxonomy really helps in the research side. But even for an average everyday beekeeper, taxonomy is important because it helps us to understand the differences between the bees we have access to, the bees we will find around us. You know, again, we know them by common names, you know, Italian honeybee, Russian, Carniole and Caucasian. We've got all kinds of them. And those actually have, you know, Caucasica, Ligustica, Carnica. These are the actual subspecies names. And when we understand where these fall into, breeding especially, we get into queen rearing, this is where it really gets handy because it helps you know where your breeds are coming from, what lines are coming from. There's a lot of geographical information, where these things come from, where they're found. Okay. And there's something called CADES that are generally associated with taxonomy. And CADES are biological, very specific biological information that fits in along with taxonomical descriptions and classifications, but doesn't necessarily line up identically. Okay. We look at that, and there's where we learn it. Okay. So say, Ligustica, you know, we have, the Italian honeybee, and that comes from a very particular general area of Italy, of that part. We have other bees that are more around the Mediterranean in general. We have some that are from the Caucasus Mountain regions. We have, you know, from all over the place in the world. But depending on the geography where they come from will also affect, because they evolved in a certain area, a certain type of climate, this information will help us understand how well, okay, I'm going to put my bees in this kind of an area. And, because I live, say, in the Omaha, Nebraska area, I want bees that are going to be successful here. So I probably am going to look for bees that come from an environment similar to where I'm at. That would be ideal, because otherwise I'm having to try to get bees that are not acclimated and have not evolved to really be most successful in this kind of environment, in this kind of general ecological atmosphere, to be successful, and they may not be. It also kind of helps us to understand how bees get the way they are. You know, there's a lot of connections in between behavior, the defensiveness, you know, how aggressive that defensiveness can be is a lot tied to taxonomy and CADES, where, for example, they say that the German black bee, everybody's familiar with the German black bee. Okay. That was the first bee brought over to the New World. It was the first bee here, the first pilgrim bee. And the German black bee was actually noted for the most part to have been generally pretty docile. It was not a super aggressive bee. It has the reputation now of being aggressive. Okay. But here's the trick. If we follow taxonomy in the associated areas, if we follow that, we learn that the German black bee is generally docile on its own. But when it is allowed to mate with southern European bees, it has been documented, it has been studied and found that the offspring of North European bees And South European bees, Italian bees, Ligustica, pardon me, that offspring tends to be much, much more defensive and aggressive about that defensiveness. But they look a lot like more of the German black bee. So what happened was, in a lot of times, bees were interbreeding, pardon me, mating, open mating. And when they started bringing in more southern trait bees, they started breeding with those here. And we started seeing a little bit more defensive, a little bit more feisty bees coming out of them. And they got blamed on being the German black bee. So there's something interesting that taxonomy shows to us. It keeps track of all that information. So if we're really studying things like that, that's what we're talking about. And that's why taxonomy is important. So we understand what the bees are that we're working with a little bit better, more specifically, more categorically, in terms of breaking them down into this group here, this type of bee here. So I personally think it's important that beekeepers, just in general, even if you're just a hobbyist beekeeper, do a little bit of homework on taxonomy. And on the website this whole week, we put in some posts that are going to go into a little bit detail of what I talked about just now, things that I brought up just now. And we've even got some neat downloads from the download page, and you can download those PDFs and really get a little bit more into it, just so you have a little better idea of what taxonomy is and what it's all about, and how maybe you might find that it's going to be useful in your own beekeeping, even if it's just to better understand the bees that you're working with now, even though you may not do any queen rearing or do anything, mating or anything like that. So it's something to think about, something to be aware of, always be aware. Be smart, people. That's the big thing. That covers our topic here. And in terms of Honey Bee Taxonomy, I wanted to make sure to talk about that a little bit today. That's something you're not going to get anywhere else. You heard it here first on the Be Smart Beekeeping Project, Be Smart podcast. You heard that with Big Bear. A little bit about how I come about doing some of these things is because what I do is I'm self-employed. I run a business as what I refer to as a professional apiarist. I like to use the terminology, the more formal terminology, apiculture, apiarist, as opposed to just beekeeper. And ultimately, they mean the same thing. It's just one's a little bit more of a formal term. And because it's a more formal term, I like to associate it with the business or professional side of things, because that's kind of what people expect when they work. They look at more formality. They look at more of that kind of presentation or representation. And so I like to represent it that way. But what I do, part of what I do is I do live bee removals. I do, cutouts and swarm captures for people. Most of my clients are businesses, property management and all that. I tend to try to really leave residential stuff, alone. But businesses, because they usually need to have somebody who's a professional, insured and, got certain accountability issues handled. Their insurance companies require those things. So there's very few people who are professional in that sense that can provide those direct services to businesses, property management companies, that kind of thing. So that's what I do. I also do apiary hive management for businesses who are looking to produce wax and honey so they can use it in their own businesses too. And that's on the one side. So there's the direct side that I run my business as. But the whole other side is education. I do instruction. I teach classes. And I also run a training program because I look at apiculture as a trade. I don't look at it necessarily just as a hobby or not even as a total commercial venture such as the big time pollination and honey producing guys. do. And it's not I'm not saying good, bad, or otherwise. I'm saying they're just different. But in the setting that I work in, we're looking at smaller scale, but usable things. And I'm trying to get people to get to work from that point of view. And so I run it like a trade program, a training program where they go through an apprenticeship. There's an intern level, then they move into the apprentice level, a journeyman level, and then they can get certified as an apiarist, being, again, a professional beekeeper, really, and being able to they have to be able to demonstrate and show that, I know the information and I know how to apply it. I've had to demonstrate my ability to apply these skills in a certain way. And it comes in handy. I've got people that have gone through the training program who never become professional bee. They don't do it for work. They just continue to use it in their hobby. But they find, at least the ones that have, come back and, told me about it, they do that because it helps them in the long run, because they have that more formal approach to it. They take that back and they feel very confident. They feel very like they have a little bit more success going at it from that point of view. I like to look at it as the type of training. It's the approach to training. It helps people keep a little bit more, I believe, an open mind, a little bit more focused approach. So that's what I do. So then the coaching and the education, though, all happens through the Be Smart Beekeeping Project. That's my beekeeping education, instruction, information arm of BBE Tech. Because I do some other things on the side, because here in Nebraska, we can't do beekeeping all year round necessarily. I've got beekeeping tasks that, I'm involved in all year round, but during the late fall and the winter and the early spring, there's, the hands-on stuff really gets more limited. So I start doing a little bit more classroom-oriented things, and I do some other non-beekeeping stuff, just kind of help fill in the little openings there until we get to the thick of things in the spring, and then it's pretty much all bees all the time. And so the Be Smart Beekeeping Project here is the arm of that. That's where I do all of this. So come to the website. I'm not here to, tell you it's the best website, the most educational, most informative. You got so many great websites out there that have little nuggets of information that are useful here and there. You got a lot of just general hobbyists, blog sites and just a lot of really cool pages. You've got, Instagram pages, accounts, and you've got people on other social media like Facebook. They got groups. You can get all kinds of really interesting information and useful information out there. But, what I want to do here is really try to give a more focused, presentation, with the Be Smart. So I want to make it fun, because I want you to be able to learn some things, and a little bit on the more formal trade training side. So you're seeing information presented from that angle is how I like to present it, but also keep it a little bit fun. So we have games, and we have, I put up a crossword puzzle every week. I put up, there's a word search puzzle based on the same topic, same account, for the people who support the project over on Patreon. They get to access, exclusive access to the word search, and the word search and the crosswords and things like that. They just work to kind of reinforce that. So as you're learning the terms and you're learning what they mean, you're doing it in a way you're having a little bit, it's more interesting, and it helps you retain that information a little bit better, because it's not just hopefully a chore. It's something you're having a little bit of fun with, That's the goal, because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, if you're not having fun with bees and beekeeping, you're doing it wrong. Even if you're doing it professionally, I'm sorry. That's my opinion. That's where I stand on that. Is if you ain't having fun, if it's not enjoyable, then you're doing it wrong. That's beekeeping should be fun. So we're getting ready to wrap down here, and I would love to, again, I hope to talk with y'all of the Be Smart Beekeeping Project. We have a Facebook page, at We Be Smart, on Facebook. We have a Twitter page. We have a Facebook group called the Be Smart Beekeeping Project. so you can get on the group. They've got, I don't know, close to 500 people on there now. We've got people back and forth in there, chitter-chattering, and, I get in there, and the other Beehooligans will pop in there every now and then and answer questions and talk a little smack and have some fun in there. So, just, come on in and please come to the website forum. The website forum has been designed so we can get people in there and really get good conversations in depth, not the really brief, 2-3 sentence lines that get shot off in social, but we can get a good dialogue, good discussions going on the forums there back and forth and get information and share stories and communicate, what's going on with the beekeeping project and all that. So please come on down. That's besmart.bb-tech.com. besmart.bb-tech.com. Would love to have you come on over there. We got downloads. We've got the podcast on its own podcast page. We've got documents and PDFs you can download for free. We've got we've got all kinds of stuff up there. So we got the posts and the articles and the blogs, and we've got a web comic. We got every 2 weeks we got a web comic that comes out. So, and it's the Beehooligans webcomic. So we got hopefully a lot of fun and different stuff to kind of keep you occupied and keep you coming back, checking things out. So hopefully we get to see y'all out there. I appreciate it. Hopefully next week we're going to introduce, get some of our folks back and be a little bit more rowdy and have a little bit more fun. And, no, you're not coming back. I don't care. I'm going to put you somewhere else. You can't. No. See, no, he wants to come back next week. He didn't do nothing here. Didn't even try to contribute. You just sat there pouting and you don't get to come back. I'm not even going to let you in the room no more. So you just forget about it. He ain't coming back. I'm not going to let him come back. But anyway, you folks have a really good one. I appreciate you sticking with us and biding your time, waiting for the podcast to come back. And we're going to make the next podcast coming up, hopefully more fun, more interesting. And until then, my friends, don't ever forget, please be smart.